Welcome to Sports Spectrum, the sports and faith podcast that brings Jesus back into the conversation. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
Hey guys, welcome to the program. Today, I'm excited to bring to you a conversation with an Olympic gold medal winning track and field athlete, Christian Taylor. Before we get to our conversation with Christian, I want to tell you about our friends at Ronald Blue Trust, the company's certified financial planning professionals offering comprehensive financial planning and investment management services based on biblical principles to individuals and families across the United States who are beyond the debt problem stage but want to be good stewards of their wealth. And of course, if you've been affected by the coronavirus and this sort of crazy quarantine time that we're living in and so many uncertain things going on, especially with our finances, Ronald Blue Trust is the place to turn to ask questions, to hopefully figure out which way you need to go, how you need to go, where you need to go with your finances. Check them out at ronblue.com, ronblue.com to learn more about the great work that they are doing. Ronald Blue Trust. Today on the podcast, we welcome Christian Taylor to the show. As we mentioned, a USA gold medal winning track and field athlete. He won the gold medal in the triple jump at the 2012 Summer Olympics in London, and then 4 years later won the gold medal in the triple jump at the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio. He is the reigning Olympic champion and current world champion in the triple jump. The Florida University Gator alum is now preparing for the 2021 Summer Olympics in Tokyo because, of course, the quarantine pandemic delayed the 2020 Summer Olympics and pushed them to 2021. And now we talk to Christian about that adjustment. What's that like, having prepared for a 2020 games that is now 1 year later? We also talked to Christian about his journey of faith. And there's a poignant moment that took place in 2012 during the Summer Olympics and immediately after the Summer Olympics in London that led Christian to a deeper relationship with Jesus. Take a listen to Christian Taylor. He joins us here today on Sports Spectrum. Christian, welcome to Sports Spectrum.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me.
It's good to talk to you. Good to see you as we record this through Zoom, like a lot of our interviews have been with this quarantine life. Let's start with I'm not calling it the new normal. I'm calling it the now normal because hopefully it's not the new normal and what we're all going through. But we're all quarantined, right, for the past few months, and having the 2020 Summer Olympics in Beijing being postponed now to 2021. What has these last few months been like for you, really since even before quarantine life? And we'll talk about maybe how the training was going leading up to it, but really since the middle of March as we are now taping this in the spring.
Yeah. Of course, all sites, efforts were tailored toward Tokyo this summer, since Rio. From the time I got off the podium, my coach and I already started saying the 4-year plan. This is what we're working towards. Of course, there will be milestones and there will be ups and downs that come with career and life. But, the end goal being Tokyo 2020. Of course, we were surprised and hit with the coronavirus and being optimistic, we all hoped that this would pass or maybe just be to the extent of something like Zika or, things that we've had in the past that come around these kind of events. And it just seemed that we were just not able to get control of it. The risk surpassed the reward and the IOC eventually had to make the call. But yeah, now it's been tailored as, Tokyo 2021. Initially this was just almost a very hard pill to swallow, because again, we were already, our eyes and efforts were set on that 4-year plan, and so to be really honest, a lot of the pressure was not on me. It was more personal that, I was ready to be there. I was ready to compete both mentally and physically. But, when it came to the preparation, actually that all lied for my coach. I trust in his plan and I trust in basically how he's preparing me to be ready for that performance. And with the switch happening, it really went on his shoulders. And I said, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to stay healthy for another 365 and be ready, be the best in the best place to compete for another gold medal? And so, it's not been an easy task, and I applaud him for adjusting and being flexible. But I would say for about 4 weeks, we were really just trying to put the pieces back together.
I want to correct myself too. I think I said Beijing. Obviously, I meant Tokyo, and thank you for clarifying that at the Olympics in Tokyo. For you, as you're preparing, did your trainer help you kind of go back into the mentality of where you were a year ago? Is that kind of what you're thinking, or are you taking what you've already prepared for and not letting that go to the wayside? Not that it would, but to try and sort of restart this whole plan up for now, a year from now.
Yeah, so we are really just continuing. I know this sounds weird because for us, next year would have been World Championships. So we always have World Championships leading into Olympics, and then Olympics to World Championships. So we're just using this as added time. Anything that, because to be really honest, the biggest drive, the biggest motivation for me now is the world record. I'm number 2 all time, and it's not a place that I want to finish my career at. And so we're just saying, with this added days, I dreamed of getting the Olympic record, getting the world record at the Olympic final, and so it's, well, with this at a time, how are we going to now fine tune? How are we going to be even more prepared for that moment? And so we turn a difficult moment, into something that we're really going to use to our advantage. And it's not about reflecting or looking back, but it's, okay, here's where we are. We were prepared. We were ready to go. But now with this added time, how much more prepared are we going to be? How, what is the mental state going to be? And so we're really using this for our good.
It's an interesting thought too, when I think about, you talk about the moment, right? And you're talking about preparing for a moment, whereas in other sports, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, there's in-game adjustments and there's moments of ups and downs. For you, there's really not a lot of that. Maybe there is, and you can help us with that. But it feels like it's really preparing for, now 2 years for just a couple of moments that you have to nail, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as opposed to team sports and even the length of other sports, some sports maybe having an hour or something like, with track and field, the track part, it's in the instant. Yeah.
That's
so
it.
If you don't react, your race is done. If you don't execute, your race is done. For the field, we actually do have several attempts. And so I do have a little bit more grace to make corrections along the line. But at the end of the day, the similarities we do have to the other sports is it is all about that one night or that one morning. And so the preparation can be perfect, but if you mess up that night's sleep, if you eat the wrong thing in the morning, like that moment can be gone. And I think that is what is so special about sports, because it is a moment in time. It is about, the stars essentially lining up. But yeah, as I said, we're really going to do the best we can. We've prepared and we've executed when it counted in the past championships. And we plan to do the same, using that experience to our good. But I think it's really a blessing in disguise.
It's got to help that you've gone through this before in the sense of preparing for Olympic Games, right? Like 2012, you're coming in maybe like a deer in the headlights a little bit, being 22, a young kid, and you've never been through this. Now you can kind of look back at, 30 years old, almost 30, I should say. We don't want to push you to 30 yet, Christian, but you have this experience now that has to help you, I got to imagine.
Yeah, you nailed it right on the head. 22, I came right out of, university. So that would have been my senior year, at UF. So of course, plug to the Gators. But
Go Gators!
Now having 2 Olympic championships to run off of, I know the procedures, I know the call rooms, I know the opening ceremonies, I know the security measures. So things that my competitors may have not experienced, I will now be able to breeze through it because I've done it before. So a lot of these things that really could have thrown me off the first time, I'm ready for it. I'm prepared for it. So the thing is, with the U.S., you first have to make the team, and we believe it's the most difficult team to make. It's unbelievably competitive.
Yeah.
Again, it is about seizing that moment, but then making that team and almost having that off your shoulders. It's then just taking care of the things before, the press conferences, the rooming situations. You never know how that. London was very different than Rio, with how prepared the village was. So things like this you have to take into account. But as this is my 3rd games, I'm almost prepared for it all. And so I think that is going to play a big advantage, be an advantage in our corner.
Tell me about your faith as we pivot a little bit. Christian Taylor is joining us here on Sports Spectrum. I know that faith is important to you. Let's learn about your journey a little bit to the Lord. Why is your faith so important to you and vital to you?
Yeah, so I've been, I would say, a Christian all my life. Grew up in a Christian household, but I would really say that my journey began in 2012. And I know maybe that even comes off cliche, but it's like I had my moment in the Olympic final, and I know we shouldn't do this in the Bible, but test the Lord and say, hey, if you're real, like, show me, and it wasn't about performance, but it was really, if I was able to shine a different light, if I was able to have a certain peace in that moment, because I was so nervous. I had the deer in headlights. I had 2000 was a challenge, maybe not to even make the finals. And then I felt this really peace, you could say grace or favor, but I had a peace in a moment where I thought I could actually lose it all. And that was the moment for me that, I'm ready to take my faith to another level. I was baptized, right after that. And for me, felt that this reborn, felt this, now was an opportunity that I could live my life in a better light and got connected to my church. I went to church when I was in college, but really got rooted and connected to the pastors, the groups, and just try to take this relationship essentially to another level. And now, I live off of the idea of blessed to be a blessing. God is, whether it's finances, I'm only using this to steward, he's testing me to see how I'm going to steward this and help others. If it's my time, my talents, if that's coaching, if that's, whatever it may be, you don't know, like, how you doing something can affect somebody else or even saying something, could just give somebody that strength to go on another day. And so I really seen, how God has been able to use his platform, to just get through me and reach thousands. And that's been absolutely, a blessing for me.
That's awesome. I love that story. Let me take you a little bit before the Olympics. And you said you grew up in a Christian home and kind of went to church when you were at Florida, but walk me through the tension in the midst of being a world-class athlete and a follower of Christ and what that looked like for you. A lot of people have shared on this show, athletes, coaches, others, about identity issues and being rooted and caught up so much in what they do and forgetting that doesn't define them, that it's actually their walk with the Lord that defines them and Jesus that defines them. Right. Can you kind of walk me through if there ever was a tension in the midst of being a world-class athlete and trying to be a follower of Christ?
Yeah, I think, it's great that you brought this up, but the term my pastor uses is basically a Christian atheist. Like, you're a Christian by heart, but you live as if God doesn't exist, and so I was there on Sundays, I was there on Wednesdays, I was part of Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Action. Like I was participating in all of it, but my Monday through Friday did not resemble my relationship with him, and so he was in my heart, but my actions did not show that. No one could be on the street and say, there's something different about him. And this is the point where it went off for me. And so I would say the challenge was, as you said, in the identity. When I would compete, it was, instead of the audience of one, it was, I have to prove myself. I have to be a certain person or achieve a certain distance or a certain time to fit in. And this just added so much unnecessary. And I want to really highlight unnecessary pressure, unnecessary anxiety, to my sport life, and obviously that trickles all over into my personal life. The way I viewed myself and the way I wanted to be seen, all these were all in my performance. If I won, I was the cool kid. I was, the person that people expected me to be. I was who I thought, people wanted me to be. And that made me, when I believed, happy, and looking back now, I feel sorry for that guy. And this is something I try to, when I'm speaking to the youth now, like it's not about what you do, it's about, your heart position and who you really are. And so I really strive to, to take your identity away from what you're doing, but really try to share love, try to share joy, try to share peace. And God loves you regardless of how fast you run, how far you jump, and this is really what I want to convey now.
We'll get back to our conversation with Christian Taylor in just a little bit, but want to tell you a little bit more about Ronald Blue Trust. We love Ronald Blue Trust, one of our newer sponsors and partners with us here at Sports Spectrum. They have over 35 years of experience specifically in serving professional athletes and coaches. They've created a unique specific service tailored to meet their unique needs, and they can do that for you as well. See, their advisors apply biblical wisdom and technical expertise to help clients make wise financial decisions and experience clarity and confidence and leave a lasting legacy. It's uncertain times. We don't know what this financial climate is going to look like in a few days, a few months at all. And that's why Ronald Blue Trust is a great place to turn to get the answers you need regarding your financial needs. Check them out over at ronblue.com. ronblue.com. Now back to our conversation with Christian Taylor, USA gold medal winning track and field athlete, joining us here on Sports Spectrum. Let me ask you about that moment. I want to go back to 2012 a little bit, and you talked about how that moment and that time was really a great test for you with the Lord. But I'm more just here talking about a moment for you when you kind of realized, oh man, I'm here at the Olympics. Is there a moment, in terms of describing when you realized, okay, this is a dream for pretty much every athlete when they're a kid, right? Yeah. And I don't care what level or sport they play at. You always dream about winning a championship, or you dream about the highest level, and you feel like the Olympics is that. So can you share maybe a moment that stands out from you in that first Olympics in London, other than the one you already shared, obviously?
Right. It would actually just be the press conference, believe it or not. Once I got to the village and went to the food court, and all this stuff was cool. Don't get me wrong. I got my accreditation and did this, but once the U.S. Olympic Committee came to us and said, you've been invited to participate in a press conference. And I got there, and the stage was set, and there were microphones, and, the name. And that's when, I saw all the Olympic banners, and that's when it hit me. This is like, that's the pinnacle. This is the cream of the crop. This is press from the world. And, normally I have really good relationships with USA Track and Fields, and so normally it's, hey, Christian, we need you to do that. But it was now the USOPC, but at that time, USOC, coming and saying, we'd like you to participate in our press conference. And that was the moment where this is now the big stage. This is now, you need to think of everything you're saying and how you're essentially going to use this platform. And so that's when I freaked out a little bit on the way there, and was praying at this time, please help me say the right thing and answer the right way. And maybe just bring a smile. That was always my goal. Maybe I could just give somebody a smile for today, be uplifting in some way. And that was that moment.
So fast forward to 2016 and you're in Rio. Obviously you had just won a gold medal in London. Now you go to Rio and you win another one. What's the difference there, especially from a spiritual perspective? Because you said in 2012, that was when you kind of realized, okay, the greater purpose is happening here. 2016, you're 4 years more into this, 4 years later. Certainly from an athletic perspective, mm-hmm. You got the experience and you go and you do it. You win it again. You win the gold medal. But from a spiritual perspective, are you experiencing it a little differently than in 2016?
Absolutely. So I walk in with a lot more confidence, of course, from both sides. But spiritually, again, just thinking, it doesn't matter. Win, lose, doesn't matter. I'm loved. And of course, because now I'm so connected and rooted with my church, I'm speaking to my pastors daily. Hey, man, they're just giving me scriptures and uplifting me like crazy. And so that was just awesome because that energy was so cool. And obviously they were praying for you and we were going to have it in the church streaming, and that was just so powerful to me. But I would have to also say with this did actually add some pressure, because I didn't want to let them down. So it was not that it was an identity crisis now, but, I knew that they were backing me and I wanted to show them and even show the world, hey, when God is on your side, hey, you do have a peace on you, but you also get a bit of favor. And this was again, a learning process for me. It's not that, why would God be in my corner versus my competitors, and that is what I love about, Christianity. It's a relationship. Yeah. So you're constantly learning as you do with, your wife, your husband, whatever. But, you're constantly learning about the person you're in a relationship with. And that was a learning moment for me, that I, again, put unnecessary pressure on my shoulders. I was telling everyone, God is going to love you and he's going to bring you through, and don't worry, have fun. But yet internally I was like, well, my family expects me to win now because I won my first one, and the church is expecting, they're streaming because they expect me to bring back the gold for them, and so I was speaking about prayer warriors, but yet, inside myself was worrying, am I going to be able to basically meet everyone's expectations? And that's the thing, it's constantly learning, constantly growing. And I went back and I told the church specifically, thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers. Thanks for clapping with me and cheering me on. But I again fell short, and I again, had to learn from this experience. Going into 2020, it was going to be completely different. I was going to just go out there and just have a completely different demeanor. Yeah. I was going to compete with all my heart and give it, it being that fierce mentality. But at the same time, I actually felt at peace going into this champs. I felt, even with Corona, with the virus, I said, you know what, if it's to happen, it's to happen. If not, when it comes, and that's when I knew actually I was finally maturing, so it wasn't being saved, but it was actually, reading daily, watching sermons daily, speaking to my pastors daily, just really getting into it. And now not just speaking about a peace that comes with it, but living that. Yeah.
Sanctification, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. Christian Taylor is our guest here on Sports Spectrum. I want to ask you about failure, because Michael Jordan once said, I was reading this quote recently, and his documentary and the Bulls documentary is going to be on ESPN, and it's just one that's highly anticipated by a lot of sports fans. But he said the key to success is failure, which I thought was interesting when I'm reading that, because I'm looking through Christian Taylor's resume here. Well, Olympic resume, there's not a lot of failure, obviously, when you win a gold medal. So where on this journey did failure come into play to allow you to thrive and have the success you have had, obviously?
Yeah, weirdly enough, it was my junior year in high school. I was the top dog. I was, very highly recruited. Yeah. And actually the stars were aligned for me. And I went to the national qualifier for the indoor championships and didn't make the final, and to think that I was getting prepared, like I was getting my official visits in line, and, like everyone at the high school was like, this is going to be I was voted most likely to succeed. And like everything was really like the win was really in my back. And I didn't make the national championship. I couldn't even qualify to get to nationals. And this really stunned me. And this was my moment that, there are no guarantees, in sport, you have to earn everything. Nothing will be given. And that was really my wake up call. That was really when I knew that, when they say, talent will only take you so far, but you have to meet it with a level of hard work, and you have to put that time in. It's not that I was not working, but to the next level, that is when that switch went off. And so I realized, if I wanted to be something in my senior year, if I did not want to lose those scholarship offers, I need to take my thinking, I need to take my efforts to another level. And then, of course, my senior year erupted, and I went to win nationals and win state and all these things like this. But that was my aha moment.
Yeah, okay, maybe I'm not as good as I am, and if I want to be great, I gotta put the work in and not just assume it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, it won't. That's the thing. You might get lucky now and then, or you might be better, just physically better than somebody else. But if your mentality is not there, if you're not working every day to think somebody might be outworking you, you will eventually fall short.
No doubt. Couple last questions here with Christian Taylor. Let me ask you about, you kind of alluded to the pastors sending you scripture and you kind of, diving into different sermons and things like that. But what are disciplines and rhythms for you on a daily basis that you've instilled, maybe even since quarantine life, right? That's changed a little bit, to stay connected to the Lord. We talk about prayer and reading the Bible and certainly fellowship, which isn't really possible right now. Maybe it is virtually, but not physically with social distancing. But what are some of those disciplines and rhythms that you've instilled to keep yourself connected, as it says in John 15, connected to the vine?
Right. So the biggest challenge my pastors have said to me for years was the first 15 challenge. The first 15 minutes of your day, just spend time with the Lord. If it's 5 minutes of prayer, 5 minutes of worship, and 5 minutes of reading. He was like, if you can give him 15 minutes, and he tied this to so many things, if you honor the first, the rest will be blessed, and same with the tithe, 90% with God's blessing is greater than 100% without, know? So, I can go on and on, but to answer your question, it's the first 15. Of course, this has now grown to about an hour for me now. So I definitely want to say that I've improved from just 15 minutes, but it is just dedicating every day, just waking up, of course, having my prayer, and then I'm watching sermons daily. I love it. I've got, churches all over with streaming capability now. I watch the Transformation Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've got churches here in Florida, but just staying connected, and they're always uploading some kind of worship, some kind of sermon, some kind of activity at the church. And so every day I'm just trying to feed myself, meditate on that. And then, after that, actually, I call my fiance and then we actually speak about what she and I just studied or she and I just heard and almost try to find a scripture to go with this. And then after that, it's okay. The day has started. Now have breakfast, get ready for training, things like this. But it's the biggest thing has just been starting my day off right.
Yeah, I cannot echo that more. I mean, for me, it's if I don't start in the morning with my mind focused, with scripture, with prayer, with whatever it is, meditation, with God, I'm lost. Like I might not get that back, and it really sets the trajectory of my day. And it sounds like it does for you too. That's really great. Let me ask you the last question here. What are you learning from the Lord right now? So I asked this question to all of our guests, kind of closing the show. God teaches us something new every day. What's He teaching you right now?
Actually, weirdly enough, to have faith. So right now, and this is something that my fiance and I are really holding on to. So with everyone, they're having the fear of money, having the fear of what does next year bring? What contracts will you have? We are hoping to get married in October, if this all clears up. And, she's in Europe now. So will she be able to fly back over here? Are we, but it is basically all these questions and stress of anxiety and finances and things. And then we have to go back to, if God's providing for the birds, they're not putting things in a storehouse, but He provides for them. Why would He not do the same for us? If He values us and He cherishes us and we're His children, why would He not provide for us? And so we're holding on so tightly to this daily because, when all this happened, it was, oh my gosh, the stock market, how is this going to affect us? Our marriage, how is this going to affect? And then we thought, you know what? Have faith. This is a point where, Christians should shine and say, though everything around us looks uncertain and confusing and questionable, we have faith that God will bring us through. We have faith. We have peace in this moment of uncertainty. And so this is what I've been trying to pass on, but also live. Like, this is what we're trying to live daily, because of course the questions come, but then you cannot allow, you have to protect your eyes and ears. I had to, and I know this sounds silly, but even be careful on how much news I was watching because this was instilling a level of fear in me. Yes. Can I go grocery shopping or do I need to order? If someone coughs, it's the springtime, there's pollen. Like, there are also people with allergies, and I feel for them because, everyone's thinking, get away from me, but there's pollen everywhere. Cars are yellow now, and so with all this, it's just, to answer your question, it's just faith. This has been such a test of my faith. And really just saying, who do we really rely on? It's not in our powers. And it's really, hey, we know who's in control ultimately, and He will provide. It's going to work out, and all this is working for our good, and this is what we're really saying daily.
That's really good there. Christian Taylor, our guest here on Sports Spectrum, USA gold medal winning track and field athlete. Really appreciate you joining us here on the show today, Christian. This has been a treat. Where do you keep your gold medals, by the way, real quick as we close? I'm always fascinated when you have gold medals that you want to just wear everywhere, but you obviously can't do that. Where do you keep those? You have them like in a safe somewhere?
Well, thank you so much for all this, Jason. This has been really a pleasure. And to answer the gold medal question, it is actually in the bank, in the safety deposit box. So
nice.
I'm traveling so much, I would just had peace with knowing it's in one place safely. So yeah, it's in the safety deposit box.
That's good, man. Thanks again for being here. Really appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Stay healthy.
Good stuff there from Christian Taylor, USA gold medal winning track and field athlete, two-time gold medal winner in the triple jump at the 2012 and 2016 Summer Olympics, and we'll be watching him hopefully in 2021 in Tokyo. Thanks to Christian for joining us here on Sports Spectrum. Also thank our sponsors, Ronald Blue Trust, applying biblical wisdom and technical expertise, helping their clients make wise financial decisions. It's a crazy climate that we're in. Definitely check them out at ronblue.com to learn more and to see if they can be a good fit for you. Ronald Blue Trust, ronblue.com. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of the show. We really do appreciate it. You can definitely go to our website, sportspectrum.com. That's where all of our content can be found. You can subscribe to our podcast. You can listen to every single archival content podcast out there, including 500 plus episodes that go all the way back to March 31st of 2017 when this show debuted way back when. So check it out. All the content can be found at sportspectrum.com. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time right here on the show. I hope you all have a great rest of your day and stay safe.